Are you tired of feeling stuck with your English even though you've been studying for months or maybe even years? Do you find yourself understanding everything when you're watching Netflix, but then when you try to speak, the words just don't come out? You're definitely not alone in this struggle, and today we're going to solve this problem once and for all.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Easy English. I'm Erika, and I'm here with Marco, and we are so excited to share something super important with you today. We've both been there, that frustrating moment when you know the grammar, you know the vocabulary, but you still can't speak confidently. The good news is that you can absolutely practice English effectively at home, by yourself, and we're going to show you exactly how.
Before we dive into our amazing tips, we want to hear from you. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to practicing English alone at home? Is it staying motivated, finding the right materials, or maybe just knowing where to start? Drop your answer in the comments below because we read every single one, and your experience might help another learner who's facing the same struggle.
Creating your English bubble at home. The first thing we need to talk about is creating what I like to call your English bubble at home. This means transforming your living space into an English-speaking environment where you're constantly surrounded by the language. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I literally changed my phone's language settings, put Spanish sticky notes on everything in my apartment, and even started talking to my cat in Spanish.
That's brilliant, Erika. And you know what? This works because your brain needs constant exposure to create new neural pathways. When you change your phone to English, your computer interface to English, and even your grocery list to English, you're forcing your brain to think in English throughout the day. It's like creating a mini English-speaking country right in your own home. Exactly. And here's something that might surprise you. Even if you don't understand everything at first, that's totally okay. Your brain is like a sponge and it's absorbing patterns and sounds even when you're not consciously aware of it. Have you ever noticed how you can sometimes understand a word or phrase that you've never formally studied? That's your subconscious learning at work. Exercise 1. 24-hour English challenge for the next 24 hours. Change your phone's language to English. Set your computer to English. And write all your personal notes in English. Notice how many times you naturally encounter English throughout your day. The power of shadow speaking. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful techniques for practicing English alone. Shadow speaking. This is where you listen to native speakers and try to speak along with them at the same time, copying their rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation. I used to do this with American sitcoms, and I literally felt like I was having conversations with Ross and Rachel from Friends.
Oh my gosh, Marco, I did the same thing. But I used British podcasts because I wanted to sound more sophisticated. The amazing thing about shadow speaking is that it trains your mouth muscles to make English sounds naturally. Think about it. When you were a baby learning your native language, you didn't start with grammar rules. You started by copying the sounds around you.
That's such a great point, Erika. And here's the science behind it. When you shadow speak, you're activating the same neural pathways that native speakers use. You're not just learning vocabulary or grammar, you're actually rewiring your brain to think and speak in English patterns. It's like learning to dance by following an expert dancer's movements. Exercise 2. Daily shadow speaking session. Choose a 5-minute video or audio clip that you enjoy. Play it and try to speak along, matching the speaker's pace and intonation. Don't worry about understanding every word. Focus on the music of the language.
Talking to yourself, the ultimate practice. Okay, this next tip might sound a little crazy, but I want you to start talking to yourself in English. And I mean really talking. Not just repeating phrases, but having actual conversations with yourself. I used to narrate my daily activities in English, like, now I'm making coffee and I'm adding 2 spoons of sugar because I need extra energy today.
Erika, that's not crazy at all. That's genius. Self talk is actually one of the most effective ways to practice because there's no pressure, no judgment, and you can practice anytime, anywhere. I used to have debates with myself about movies I watched, or I'd explain cooking recipes to my imaginary English speaking friend while I was preparing dinner.
Exactly. And here's why this works so well. When you talk to yourself, you're practicing the most important skill in language learning, thinking in English. Most people try to translate from their native language to English. But when you talk to yourself regularly, you start to think directly in English. Have you ever caught yourself thinking in English without trying? That's when you know you're making real progress.
Exercise 3 Morning English Routine. Tomorrow morning, narrate your entire morning routine in English. From the moment you wake up, describe what you're doing, how you're feeling, and what you're planning for the day. Speak out loud, even if it feels weird at first.
Using technology as your practice partner.
Let's talk about how technology can be your best friend when practicing English alone. Your smartphone isn't just for social media, it can be your personal English tutor. I love using voice recording apps to practice conversations. I'll record myself asking a question, then I'll think of an answer and record that too. It's like having a conversation with a future version of myself.
That's such a creative approach, Marco. And voice assistants like Siri or Google Assistant are amazing for pronunciation practice. I used to ask Siri random questions in English, and if she understood me, I knew my pronunciation was getting better. If she didn't understand, I knew I needed to work on that particular sound or word.
Oh, and here's something I discovered by accident. You can use language exchange apps even when you're alone. Instead of just waiting for someone to chat with, you can practice by recording voice messages to yourself. Most apps have this feature, and you can listen back to hear how you sound. It's incredibly eye-opening to hear your own English from an outside perspective. Exercise 4. Tech Practice Session. Use your phone's voice recorder to have a 5-minute conversation with yourself about your day. Then listen back and identify 3 things you did well and 3 things you want to improve.
Creating English content instead of just consuming. Here's something that completely changed my language learning game. Instead of just consuming English content, I started creating it. I began writing a daily journal in English, not about grammar or vocabulary, but about my thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Writing in English forced me to find ways to express complex emotions and ideas that I couldn't find in textbooks.
That's such a powerful shift in mindset, Erika. When you create content, whether it's writing, recording videos, or even just making lists, you're actively using the language instead of passively receiving it. I started making voice memos on my phone where I'd review my day in English. And after a few weeks, I noticed I was naturally using more complex sentence structures.
Exactly. And here's the beautiful thing about creating content. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be for anyone else. You can write terrible poetry in English, record yourself singing English songs badly, or even create silly stories about your pets. The goal isn't to be Shakespeare. The goal is to use English creatively and personally.
Exercise 5. Creative Expression Challenge. Write a short story, poem, or song in English about something that happened to you this week. Don't worry about perfect grammar. Focus on expressing your thoughts and feelings authentically.
The power of English entertainment.
Let's talk about one of the most enjoyable ways to practice English alone, through entertainment. But here's the key. You need to be active, not passive. Instead of just watching movies with subtitles, try watching the same movie multiple times with different subtitle settings. First with subtitles in your native language, then with English subtitles, then without any subtitles at all. And
Oh, Marco, that's exactly what I did with my favorite TV shows. I must have watched the first season of Friends 10 times, and each time I understood more jokes, more cultural references, and more natural expressions. But here's what made it even better. I started repeating the lines out loud, copying the actor's emotions and intonation.
that's brilliant. And here's something that might surprise you. Comedies are actually some of the best content for language learning because humor relies on timing, wordplay, and cultural understanding. When you start laughing at English jokes without translation, you know you're really connecting with the language on a deeper level. Exercise 6. Active entertainment practice. Choose one English TV episode or movie that you enjoy. Watch it 3 times this week. Once with subtitles in your language, once with English subtitles, and once without any subtitles. Notice how much more you understand each time.
Building English habits that stick. Now let's talk about something super important. Building habits that will keep you practicing English consistently, even when motivation is low. The secret isn't practicing for 3 hours once a week. It's practicing for 15 minutes every single day. I started with just 5 minutes of English every morning while drinking my coffee. And now it's as natural as brushing my teeth.
That's so true, Erika. Consistency beats intensity every time. I used to try to study English for hours on weekends, but then I'd go days without practicing during the week. When I switched to short, daily sessions, my progress accelerated dramatically. It's like watering a plant. A little bit every day is much better than flooding it once a week.
Exactly. And here's a psychological trick that really works. Attach your English practice to something you already do automatically. For example, every time you brush your teeth, you could practice English pronunciation. Every time you wait for your coffee to brew, you could review vocabulary. Every time you walk to the bus stop, you could listen to an English podcast.
Exercise 7. Habit stacking. Choose 3 activities you do every day and attach a small English practice to each one. For example, brush teeth, pronounce difficult words, eat breakfast, watch English news, wait for bus, listen to English music.
Overcoming the fear of making mistakes.
Let's address the elephant in the room. The fear of making mistakes. Even when you're practicing alone, you might find yourself hesitating, second-guessing, or feeling embarrassed about your English. I want you to know that this is completely normal, and I'm going to share something personal with you. I once spent an entire week pronouncing recipe as receipt, and had no idea until I heard it in a song.
Oh, Marco, that's so sweet. And you know what? Mistakes are not your enemy. They're your best teacher. When I was learning English, I used to be so afraid of making mistakes that I barely spoke at all. But then I realized that every mistake was showing me exactly what I needed to work on. Mistakes are like road signs pointing you toward improvement.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it, Erika. And here's something that changed my entire relationship with mistakes. I started keeping a beautiful mistakes journal where I wrote down every mistake I made and why it was actually helpful. For example, when I said I am agreeing with you instead of I agree with you, I learned an important lesson about English verb patterns.
Exercise 8. Mistake Celebration. For 1 week, keep a mistake journal where you write down every English mistake you catch yourself making. Next to each mistake, write what you learned from it. Celebrate these mistakes as learning opportunities. Creating accountability when you're alone. Even though you're practicing alone, you don't have to be completely isolated in your English journey. One of the best things I did was create accountability systems that worked even when I was by myself. I started posting daily English voice messages on my social media stories, not to show off, but to create a commitment that I had to keep.
That's such a smart approach, Erika. I did something similar. I created a private YouTube channel where I uploaded videos of myself speaking English about different topics. Nobody else watched them, but knowing they were out there made me more committed to practicing regularly. It's amazing how much more seriously you take your practice when there's even a tiny bit of external accountability.
Exactly. And here's another accountability trick that works really well. Find an online community of English learners and share your daily practice goals. You don't have to practice together in real time, but just knowing that other people are on the same journey can be incredibly motivating. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to go to the gym when you know your friends are also working out?
Exercise. 9. Digital accountability. Choose one way to create accountability for your English practice. Post daily voice messages, start a private video journal, or join an online English learning community. Commit to sharing your progress for at least 1 week.
The 30-Day English Transformation Challenge.
All right, everyone, we've given you amazing strategies, practical exercises, and hopefully some inspiration, but now it's time for the ultimate test, our 30-Day English Transformation Challenge. This isn't just about practicing English. This is about completely transforming your relationship with the language and proving to yourself that you can make incredible progress practicing alone at home.
I'm so excited about this challenge, Marco. Here's how it works. For the next 30 days, you're going to commit to just 20 minutes of focused English practice every single day, using the techniques we've shared today. But here's the key. You're going to track your progress in a way that's fun and motivating. Create a simple calendar and give yourself a gold star for every day you complete your practice.
And here's what's going to happen. By day 10, you'll notice that English thoughts are starting to pop into your head naturally. By day 20, you'll catch yourself understanding movies and songs better than before. And by day 30, you'll be amazed at how much more confident and fluent you've become. This isn't magic. This is what happens when you practice consistently with the right methods.
The most important thing is to start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Your English-speaking future self is waiting for you to take action, and every day you delay is a day you could have been improving. Remember, you don't need perfect conditions, expensive courses, or other people to make progress. You just need commitment, consistency, and the techniques we've shared with you today.
Before we finish, we want to remind you that we're here to support you on this journey. Subscribe to Easy English. Turn on notifications so you never miss our videos. And most importantly, use the comment section to share your progress, ask questions, and connect with other learners. We read every comment and love hearing about your successes and challenges.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember, learning English alone at home isn't a limitation. It's actually a superpower that gives you complete control over your learning pace, methods, and progress. You've got this, and we believe in you completely. Now go start your practice, and we'll see you in the next video.